Welcome to Matrix Live, Season 6, Episode 32. We have amazing guests today. Matthew, do you want to introduce everyone?
No, I think that everybody should introduce themselves.
Perfect. Yeah, well, thanks for having us. My name is Eric Gray. I'm the product manager for the TIMessenger at Gematik. And with that, I would like to hand over to Christian.
Yeah, hello. I'm excited to be here. My name is Christian Plagens, and I'm the architect for the TIMessenger, and we are happy to work with Matrix.
Well, it is incredibly exciting to have you guys on the show today. So thank you very much for taking the time to come onto Matrix Live and tell us all about the amazing things firsthand that Gematik has been up to with Matrix. I think we've seen a couple of leaks over the last few weeks for This Week in Matrix and Matrix Live, where we've been getting a bit of information on what's been going on, but we've been holding off on telling everybody about it firsthand because we really wanted to give you guys a chance to tell us in the flesh, as it were, about what Gematik is and what it's been doing with Matrix. So over to you.
Perfect. Yeah, no, it's first of all, it's great to have the stage here and to in general to be working with you guys at Matrix. It's a great pleasure at first. And basically what we're doing is we try to concept a messaging standard, a new messaging service for the German healthcare system that is not only safe and secure, but also interoperable in regards to the providers that will be providing the service. So that's a total, it's a new chapter in the instant communication and instant messaging era in Germany. And we're really excited to have you guys on board and to work together with you on this huge project.
So basically, the idea is to have a messaging between every citizens and their doctors and the labs and everyone involved in the healthcare ecosystem, right?
That's basically the vision for the TIMessenger in the far future. We will have different steps to reach this vision. At first, we will connect the HCPs in Germany. That will be our first approach for the TIMessenger. And then in the second phase, there will be a opportunity for citizens and for insured people to communicate with doctors, but also with insurance companies via TIMessenger. So insurance companies will be obligated to actually provide a TI messaging application within their insurance applications. And there's various insurance companies in Germany, and they are offering various apps, insurance apps. And TIMessenger will at some point be a part of those apps. And in total, that basically sums up what we're planning. It's a, as I said, it's a really big step forward in terms of interoperability, because that's not a given in Germany at the moment. And in order to reach network effects and to actually have a valid alternative to non-secure options in terms of messaging, network effects and interoperability is the ultimate goal for us. And Matrix is a huge step forward in that sense.
Wow. I mean, this is basically the Holy Grail. This is the ultimate thing that we had in mind back when we created Matrix all those years ago, like 7 years ago, which is just a bit embarrassing. It's been so long. But, this was always a dream that we could go and create a decentralized communication network which could span hundreds of thousands of different entities in a given context, whether it's healthcare like this or any kind of ecosystem. And Matrix could provide a secure, neutral, end-to-end encrypted solution for people to build on. So the obvious question is, how did you guys find Matrix in the first place?
Well, with that, I think Christian can answer probably the best.
Yes. We had some guys tasked with the job to find open source solution for messaging. And there are some others, but finally we found Matrix. And then we made some evaluation on it and tested it a little bit and found that it's the best solution right now. And what we really need is end-to-end encryption. And this is already in there, and yeah, Matrix is fine for us.
Well, thank you for picking Matrix, and I'm so glad that we ended up being the winners of your shootout, I guess. So, I mean, the obvious question to ask is, how many people is this? How big is it? And what can you tell us about the size of the deployment?
So potentially there's, of course, almost 83 million citizens in Germany, and there's about 150,000 institutions in Germany. If you look at doctors' offices and clinics, and then pharmacies as well. So we have a huge range of different potential users. And I say potential because the TIMessenger, which is based in the SGB5, the law where all the social activities are stated in Germany, is basically defined. It's defined as a voluntary application, so therefore nobody is obligated to use the TIMessenger, and it's a free to choose application. And we hope by creating a good user experience and a good specification for industry as well to have a good solution and therefore have a lot of users. But yeah, potentially the user numbers are quite big, but we'll see.
Yeah, it needs to pick up basically network effect as always.
Yeah.
So why was open source so important when you picked it up, Christian?
Yeah, we want a solution that is secure, and we don't want to use a solution where we don't know if it's really secure. And with an open source solution, we can check this, and we can be sure the community is also watching if it's secure, and therefore we thought open source is the best solution in this way. And yeah, so that's why we choose this. And also we want different providers to offer their services, because we think the clients, the messaging clients, are different for different user groups, or for practitioners it's different than for insured people. And so we hope the industry will bring out good solutions for all those needs that we have. And if we have a protocol that is open source, then it's easy for them to implement their solutions and their features there. Yeah, we hope that's the best way to go.
Wow, so this is really going and building out an entire ecosystem of Matrix vendors here in Germany. And I should make it clear that I'm wearing my Matrix t-shirt right now, not that you can see it, and Matrix flags on the walls, and I'm generally here flying my Matrix.org Foundation hat, or wearing it at least. But, I mean, this is incredible. So we're talking about multiple vendors who are being attracted into the Matrix ecosystem in order to provide solutions for 150,000 different organizations. I mean, how many are you talking about?
I think the numbers at the moment, we have about 15 to 20 providers that might be interested in actually giving it a shot and seeing it as a potential business case. Names, I would be a little bit more cautious at the moment, but at some point we definitely will give names as well. I think especially for the Matrix community, it's important to understand that the Gematik is basically neutral in terms of providers and in terms of market model. So we don't have any stakes in the business models themselves. We only basically do the specifications, and thereby we give the rules of the game. And we do see the market model as the best option to approach as many users with as many potential good solutions as possible. And we did see that one Gematik owned solution, let it be Matrix, let it be any other protocol, would not be a good option. Therefore, a market model is our choice to go.
Well, the thing that's really been interesting for us is to see that it's not just the usual suspects who are getting involved here. And I'm sure that it's not rocket science for people to anticipate some of the startups who are getting involved in the healthcare space in Germany, and also some of the bigger players who are getting involved as well. Honestly, is really surprising as, well, I guess not surprising, it makes sense, but there's kind of a feeding frenzy frenzy happening, where all of these larger players are now figuring out how they can provide services for the matrix industry, or for the matrix ecosystem, to support the Gematik opportunity in Germany. And it's not just the people we know and love already. So this is a complete step change in terms of increasing interest in matrix, and the protocol and the ecosystem as a whole really coming through to the next level. It's crazy.
Well, as far as we know, you are the first ones actually putting something out there saying, hey, we're looking for a matrix provider. We're doing we're looking for a matrix solution who is providing it, as opposed to secure messenger, and matrix may be the answer. So you're making history. It's amazing.
Yay. Yeah, let me say that the team and everybody involved at Gematik is also really excited about what's happening. It's a totally new approach of doing things, also internally. It's a new approach of opening up, using open standards, actually talking to industry beforehand and not afterwards. And there's many aspects of the way we work at the moment. I think, Christian, correct me if I'm wrong, but that are totally exciting.
Yep, it's amazing. So I guess on the technical side of things, we've seen a couple of questions pop up in the last week as people try to understand, is this a private federation? Is it going to go and connect to the public matrix network? Are citizens on the sort of normal matrix network going to be able to talk through to it? Is it going to span different countries? Is it Germany only? All these good things, and also how does the protocol sort of relate in the specification in the PDF that you published to Matrix itself? Is it a fork, or is it a layer on top, or how does it work?
Yeah, it is a private federation. Also, we will not be able to communicate with public metric servers. Therefore, for this, we use proxies who control which home servers are taking part in the federation. And so our metrics installation will only be available for the German healthcare right now. Maybe it's someday for the European healthcare, because in Europe we will have standardization also for other countries, and maybe we will have metrics as messenger in the healthcare for whole Europe. But right now it's only designed for Germany. And it's the most important use case is that practitioners can communicate in an easy and secure way with each other. And the data they transport there is about patients. And so there we don't want to have everybody in the world to be able to get into this. And so we just want to limit this to the German healthcare right now.
Maybe in addition to Christian, we are also in really close contact with the BSI and the BFDI, which are the data privacy and privacy bodies, government bodies in Germany. And we're discussing the architecture and basically all the thoughts we have in terms of user experience with the TIMessenger, and therefore the whole system at some point hopefully will be approved by those two bodies, and therefore will be definitely safe in terms of data privacy and data security.
Yeah, and I forgot one thing. It is metrics. So we use the metrics client server API and the metrics server API without any changes. But we have the proxies involved, which check if the servers are registered for the German healthcare, and so they won't allow communication with servers outside the federation.
So I guess that's interesting, because we're seeing quite a lot of people out there across Europe now in the healthcare space actually doing kind of similar sister projects to the Gematik one here. I don't think that we can actually talk about any of them yet, but basically it's a similar model where the healthcare industry for the respective country is going through trying to figure out how best to go and provide a common communication platform for all the various different players. And it would be a real shame if they end up in a kind of dialect which isn't compatible with the one that you have, or if we're closing the door for people as they move between the different geographies to be able to come and jump onto the platform and share the data. So I hope that we're not closing the door entirely on it.
Yes.
But going forwards, we also see this pattern in other industries too. It's not just the healthcare, but we've seen, for instance, national security folks looking for ways to go and collaborate between the different private federations that they have. And there are other sort of parallel domains where we see the same challenges happening. And we think the Matrix hopefully kind of comes into its own here as a common language, not just within a given country and within a given industry, but one that can actually spread across borders and let other people communicate really in a standard way, including these sort of domain-specific ones that we're looking at here.
Yeah, totally. I think that's one. I mean, of course, it's the second step, and we need to do the first step at the moment to set everything up for the German healthcare system, which is a big step too. But it's totally exciting to see the opportunities and the possibilities coming up at the horizon in terms of European instant messaging communication via federated federations and the more connected federations of different systems. That's of course far away, but it's possible, and I think that's a really cool way to look at this as well.
Yeah, definitely. So what's the next step? Because so you've defined this kind of high-level specification or deep-level specification. What's coming next to get into this deployment?
Yeah, we have a tough schedule at the moment, and the team is working really hard to keep up with the schedule. We at the moment, as you said, we are desperately trying to finally publish the final version of the concept paper, which for Gematik, now I think you need to understand about Gematik is the shareholders are basically the big bodies within the German healthcare system, and therefore Gematik is having everything approved. Everything we do is approved by those shareholders, and there is of course many different opinions on how things shall be done, and therefore approval times and approval processes are quite long at the moment, and therefore we're hoping to finally push out the final version of our idea, of our concept, by end of this week, maybe mid of this week, and then the team already started working on the actual specification that will be tested, and we try to get into contact and into discussion with the industry partners to reflect on how we see things and what shall be changed in the specification, because finally or ultimately we're dependent on industry partners, vendors and providers that are willing to use our specification, and if our specification doesn't work for them, we don't have a good product in the end. So that's something we're desperately trying at the moment, and I think it's going really well, but the time frame is really tight. We will be publishing, or we will have to publish the specification for the HCP communication by the 1st of October, and that's a legal date that's set by the law. So we will not be able to get any more time for this.
It doesn't get much more of a hard deadline than that, I guess.
Yeah.
So in terms of how the specification evolves, obviously on the Matrix side, we've gone and put an awful lot of effort into the open governance process, which dictates how the community can contribute Matrix spec changes, MSCs, and the kind of process they go through to get ratified into the core Matrix spec. It would be really good to understand how you are handling that for the kind of healthcare specific layer that you're putting on top of Matrix for the Gematik use case. Is there a kind of standards-based process, or how does it work? How do you get things into the spec?
We publish our specification, and there's also a pre-publishing for the industry, and they can comment on our specification. and tell us what they need. And Eric is also doing a great job to talk to the industry and to the end users what they want, what they need. And in this way, we get what new input the industry has for us or the customers has for us.
So you're saying that if I was like a vendor of something like MRI scanners, and I've got my funky MRI format, say that I know Philips or somebody, and it might be proprietary to me, and there's another vendor who's also doing MRI imagery, and they've got their own proprietary format. We're trying to figure out how to put it over Matrix for the Gematik use case. Do they have to go and email Eric and say, hey, you should use the Philips standard? Or, you know...
That's how it works in the end. No, because we did have some discussion on using interfaces to different medical devices and how we can incorporate that into actual messaging. But we quickly realized that forming those interfaces and having those discussions takes way too much time to being compliant with the time frame we have. So maybe someday we will be able to extend what we have there in terms of specification and in terms of including more functionality and everything. But that will not be possible until October. So for the spec in October, it will be the basis of what we need for the messaging services and to provide something to the industry and to have something built and then tested and then actually rolled out, because there's a big need for communication and instant communication. And the doctors, and the HCPs in general need a good and interoperable solution. And that's the first goal. And that's the focus we have at the moment. But yeah, definitely. I mean, if there's functionality that makes sense for the wide public, of course, we're taking a look at it and we try to discuss it also with the shareholders and see how we can incorporate it. But the system is quite vast and big, and many people have to comply with it. So we try to set the standards as low as possible to not put as many barriers into the market. And premium functionality, for example, is something we do see as in terms of differentiation within the market model. But it's nothing. Premium functionality is nothing we want to expect everybody to do. We want to expect the industry to provide messaging services that are secure and interoperable. And that's, for the moment, that's it.
So I have another question, which is something I should have asked earlier, perhaps. Is end-to-end encryption on by default?
Yes, it's always on.
Excellent, excellent to hear. I guess we must be coming to the end of questions now. Amandine, do you have anything?
I think we went through most of them.
Oh, actually, I've got one final thing, which is probably going back to what I was saying earlier about the different ways of going and handling these sort of big public sector domain-specific solutions. So we've seen healthcare, we've seen education, we've also seen national security stuff. And in fact, that's one I think that we can talk about a little bit, given that we are on the UK government website that talks about this stuff. And a pattern that we see is that you end up with this big private federation in the respective countries, and you end up with these domain-specific changes on top. So for national security, it's things like, what is the classification level of a message? And is it secret or top secret or unclassified, etc., and make sure that the messages at the different classification levels don't end up in the wrong rooms. And I can imagine in a healthcare context, you might have similar requirements, really almost identical to this. Like it might be a particular VIP room for a politician or some kind of celebrity, or perhaps it's the overlap between the two. It's like a bioterror situation where there is information in the healthcare space which has to be compartmentalized to a particular subset of people. And what would be a real disaster would be if we end up with there being two incompatible domain-specific ways to categorize and classify information like that. So what I guess I'm saying is that it really is super important for Gematik to be contributing back MSCs for these sort of features and capabilities, so that if you do end up plugging together these different public sector deployments in different countries and different domains, they actually end up speaking roughly the same language, and we don't end up with a fork or fragmentation between the different dialects of Matrix. So basically, whilst you're on this adventure, please do everything that you can to go and contribute back MSCs, both from you and from the community, from the various different vendors who are finding ways of solving these problems, so that everybody out there can benefit from this, and that we don't end up reinventing the wheel. I mean, I'm sorry that was a bit waffly, but hopefully it makes sense, because I think it's also one of the things which the community has raised the most was going and looking through the PDF that was published the other week, and that we want to get reassurance on.
Yeah. Totally. I think, especially from a Gematik perspective, we try to embrace the idea of open source with what we do. So, of course, we want to push out the final specifications to, or put them open source, publish them. Also, we're thinking about a reference implementation for us, of course, to test everything and to test in terms of interoperability and to be able to give our certifications, but also this reference implementation would probably make sense for other healthcare systems as a blueprint to work with. So that will be open source as well. And we already know that there's many or some of those interested partners we were talking to at the moment are also providing MSCs, but also providing are interested in providing their input back to Matrix. Of course, we as Gematik, we don't have any business perspective on this, because we don't earn any money with the specification in the end, but we can act as a moderator in this whole setting, and we do want to bring back something to the community, and we try to do this as best as we can. But if there's input from your side, feel free. We're always happy for feedback.
Well, I guess we'd just say file MSCs. I mean, it's at the moment we get it feels like 3 MSCs a day or something, but in practice it must be once every couple of days we get a new MSC coming in, and honestly, just if you go and upstream all of the stuff that you come up with for the greater good, it will be super appreciated.
Yeah,
definitely. Cool. Well, thanks very much for all this. Is there any information we should have asked for? Is there anything else you'd like to mention and add?
I only can invite the whole community to participate in what's going on in the German healthcare sector. I mean, we're working on this every day and we try our best, but we're not perfect. So we need input and we need more ideas. And there is problems we're having especially with data privacy and data protection in Germany, and we need to find solutions. So a warm welcome to trying to get in contact with us and bringing your insights would be great.
So how should people get in contact? Should I be publishing your Matrix ID, Eric?
Yeah, that's actually a good question. I'm not sure if there's a discussion on this video, and if there's some channel we can talk. I think that's a good start.
Yeah.
Your best bet, I think, would be to just set up a public Matrix room in German somewhere on the network for people to jump in on, and I'm sure the different vendors and people who are building out on the solution would like somewhere to collaborate together. Yeah. And there's just no reason not to do that. Let's make it happen.
That'd be great. More than happy to have this. Yeah, perfect.
Okay, well, I guess that probably just about wraps it up. Thank you again for taking the time to come here and tell us all about the project firsthand here on Matrix Live. It's been a pleasure to hear about it. Please don't fork Matrix. Please do contribute everything back up stream, and we look forward to seeing how it goes and how we can help.
Thank you very much. We're looking forward to working with you.
Us too. Thank you. Speak to you soon.